What stood out to me for this week's reading was how Ishmael wasn't saying that people are bad because they make bad choices. He argued that the bigger problem is the story that we've been taught to live by. The Taker worldview teaches us that humans are separate from nature and that we're supposed to control it instead of living as part of it. Ishmael says there's nothing fundamentally wrong with people. Given a story to enact that puts them in accord with the world, they will live in accord with the world. But given a story to enact that puts them at odds with the world, as yours does, they will live at odds with the world. At first, it sounded like Quinn was saying humans are naturally destructive, but then as I read on, I realized he's saying we've inherited a worldview that teaches us the world exists for us alone, and because of that, we often act in harmful ways without questioning the story behind those actions. Ishmael explains that every culture has a creation story and argues that the takers adopted a story that originally came from the leavers. He uses the story of Adam and Eve, interpreting it not just as a story about disobedience, but as a warning about humans believing they have the authority to decide what is right, what is wrong, and who gets to live and die. When one species tries to dominate everything else, diversity disappears, ecosystems weaken, and the whole community of life suffers. You see this with premise 3. Quinn moves from the biological description that violating ecological laws can lead to extinction to a moral argument that humans should stop violating those laws. A biological fact alone doesn't automatically create moral obligation, as we reviewed last week, but Quinn is showing that the story that we live by determines how we interpret those consequences. If our worldview values the continuation of life and ecological balance, then avoiding extinction becomes a moral responsibility. If our worldview values domination, then environmental destruction can be seen as just another cost of progress. Ishmael is diving way deeper than right versus wrong. He's asking us to question the entire framework that we use to decide what is right. If we grow up believing humans are meant to rule over everything else, it makes sense that we naturally and selfishly prioritize human wants over everything else. Ishmael is right. Humans have done things that no other species really do, like destroying habitats, wiping out other species, changing ecosystems, hunting just for the heck of it. But I don't think that that means human nature is fundamentally flawed. I think humans are adaptable. Hello, evolution. The problem isn't human nature itself, it's what Ishmael calls mother culture. If our stories can teach us to dominate nature, then they can also teach us to respect it and live alongside it. I do wonder if the Taker story disconnects us not only from nature, but also from ourselves. If success is always defined as producing more, owning more, controlling more, it makes sense that people can still feel unfulfilled even while achieving those things. Quinn's comparison between the Taker and Leaver societies made me question this very deeply, as well as the point where the narrator starts to reflect and have some feelings about the things that he's learning.